Okay, in today's video we are going to talk about pulling the snorkel out, and we're going to do the 22-cent mod and then adjust the air fuel mixture screw. The reason I say we're just going to talk about pulling the snorkel out is I'm going to leave mine in because I'm going to end up I'm going to cut the side of this air box right out to give it as much air as possible. And I ride with the airbox door off on the other side. Most people are too scared to do that. That's fine. You're just gonna want to pull this rubber piece out. This weird thing was right here. Nobody's quite sure what its purpose is. I promise you it belongs in the garbage. So that's where that's going. And the snorkel is going to be extremely hard to pull out. It's glued in there. It's going to take probably a big pry bar to help and some good locking pliers to rip it out. It's going to be a pain in the ass. But if you do the 22-cent mod, you're going to need extra air. You can do it without pulling the snorkel, but I highly recommend pulling the snorkel. It's a mod that absolutely has to be done. Okay, so where we're at right now, the only thing I've done so far is remove the tank, the seat, the side plastics, one of the fairings. If you want to save yourself some time, leave the fairing on the side of the radiator because it's such a pain to get back on and line everything up. You can just leave it on, just undo these top bolts, and you can easily get the tank on and off. Another trick is you can just pull this right out of the gas tank when you take your gas tank off. Just leave this metal fitting in and just pull on it with your hands and it pops right out, pops right back in, no problem. I've done it 100 times. I've never actually this is a new bike to me. Here's my regular bike that I ride. I am getting this one ready for when that other one's miled out. So it came with an FMF pipe, 6,000 kilometers on it. I don't know if anyone's been in this carburetor yet. I don't think so. But here we go, we're gonna find out. Oh yes, I've taken the plastics off, and this black cover right here, this cover was on right here, and you got to, oh sorry, you can't see that. You got to take a bolt out, so this becomes loose now. We're gonna need this loose to be able to do the 22-cent mod, to be able to access anything in the carburetor. So, okay. Okay, I've loosened these up a little already. We're going to take these throttle cables out. We're going to take this screw off, and then these throttle cables just slide out of the way. I think we can just leave that. Can't remember if we have to take the throttle cables right out or not. Just going to leave the screw back in so we don't lose it. Okay. Next, I'm going to loosen the clamps on the carburetor. Pretty easy stuff so far. Okay, so we took that screw out, got the throttle cables out of the way. Loosen that clamp, loosen the clamp on each side of the rubber boot. Now that's going to be able to let us twist this carburetor so we can get this lid off and get at the carburetor needle. Now this is the most dangerous part of this whole operation. It's going to be, you don't want to break this plastic choke. So there's a choke elbow. This vacuum line's kind of in the way. Here's the choke elbow. It's just made of plastic. When we turn the carburetor, this thing's going to want to snap right off. But you can either just be super careful, but I like to just pull it out of its socket. I'm trying to make the phone focus here, get light. But if you just pull on it, it just comes right out. And now you still have to be careful, but now it can turn in any direction. And to put it back in, you just, there, it's back in, no problem. It just pops in and out of there, no problem. So I'm gonna pull it out. Now we're gonna spin the carb. I'm gonna hold the choke on the other side. Make sure nothing bad happens to it. And spin the carburetor. There. Whew. Now we can get at the cap. We can get the needle out of there and do the 22-cent mod. So just take these 4 screws out. Oops. Now, cap just pops right off. Put that here. Now, here's your diaphragm and your spring. I'm just going to take the spring out and put it with the cap. Now here's what they call the slide and the needle. That is a stock needle, so nobody has been in here yet that I know of, and unless all they did was change the jets. Okay. Okay, so now we're just gonna pop the needle up. This plastic piece just sits on top like a crown, goes right back in like that. But we got we're gonna push the needle up and it just pops out like that. Pretty easy peasy. Just gonna inspect everything, make sure it looks okay. Looks good. Okay. Oh. Okay, we got the stock needle here. What we're looking to do is put washers underneath the needle, which will make the needle ride higher up in the slide. So I'm gonna, because I have an aftermarket exhaust and I'm gutting the airbox, I'm gonna be able to put 5 washers on. Usually people would only put 1 or 2. I highly recommend at least 2 if you're pulling the, you can easily get away with 2 if you're pulling your snorkel. So some people are probably going to think this is excessive. There, if you can see that. Now I've got a DynoJet needle kit here, and it's got adjustable needle. So there's a clip you can use to raise and lower the needle. That's all you're doing here. Because this needle isn't adjustable, you have to use washers. So I have tried the KLX kit on every needle setting you've got, and I've also done the MCP kit, and the MCP kit is close to stock, very close to stock. I wouldn't recommend it at all. The KLX kit is pretty good, but it took a little bit of a hit on my fuel economy. I lost a little, and this is so much almost identical to the KLX kit, you wouldn't even be able to tell. So why not save your fuel economy? Okay, so now we're just going to insert the needle back in with all the washers. Put this back in. Not much to it. Now the needle sits much higher up, and that will give your carburetor more fuel. Okay, now we're back at the bike. You just take the spring, put it back on top of that little crown. Double check everything, make sure it looks good. This slide can only go in one way, so it's impossible to goof up. There we go, make sure your diaphragm is sitting properly. Now, I'm going to grab the cap. Since I bought this bike used, I'm tempted to take the float off and check the jets and make sure no one changed the jets, but since the needle's the stock, I'm just going to assume the jets are too. Super easy to change the jets on your bike as well. I'll show you how. Very tempted to put that DynoJet needle in and change the jets, but I didn't go through all the effort and money of buying it. Since I've tried KLX and MCP, I was hoping to try it, but I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, we're gonna watch, make sure we don't break the choke. We're gonna push the carburetor back and now tilt it the other way. Very okay. Yep, nobody's been in. So this is how you adjust the air fuel mixture screw and make the pilot jet more rich, make the pilot circuit more rich. There's a little plug here. The government made Kawasaki plug it off so people couldn't have easy access to it. So they can't just, they're hoping people won't be able to get in there. And for emissions control, they're hoping people won't go in and adjust it and there'll be less emissions, but of course it's a motorcycle, so we're gonna go for it. Looks like I gotta tilt the carburetor more. Okay. I'm going to drill out that plug. I'm going to get this plug drilled out. And the next thing we'll do, there's a screw under there we're going to adjust. Okay. So I drilled that plug out. There's no longer a plug in there. I broke a little piece of the carburetor, but I knew that was going to happen. I wasn't worried about it. That's just a piece for show. I saw it coming a mile away. It's easier to drill it out if you take the carburetor off, but I don't want to take the time to do that. So this is kind of hard to do with two hands, but there's a screw up in here, and it's a flathead, of course. I didn't bring a flathead with me. So, it's probably too big. There it is. So I always like to see where they were set at factory. So I'm going to screw it all the way in. See how many turns. Half a turn. Half a turn. Oh, still going. Another half. Oh, it was 1 3/4 from factory, which isn't bad at all, actually. So now that you saw how to do that, I'm going to set it two turns out. Half a turn, half a turn, half a turn, half a turn. 2 1/4 turns out. So that is pretty much it. We did the 22-cent mod, but we did it 5 times. We put 5 washers in. We adjusted the air fuel mixer screw to make it more rich. I'm going to slide the choke back in next. All right, it's all seated. Make sure everything looks good. Yeah, and it's just now I just have to put the throttle cables back on, put the plastics back on, that's it. And the next video I'm going to make is going to be removing the ADS system, the air injection system. Lots of these bikes pop and fart on deceleration. Adjusting the air fuel mixer screw will help it, but also getting rid of that is also a help. But that'll be the next video.